Dave Chappelle said it best. Take a man's livelihood is akin to killing him. Kevin Hart dreamt his entire life of hosting the Oscars, and when he finally got the job, they just took it. What he said applies to what we're going to be discussing today on the podcast. As you can tell from the title, this podcast is going to revolve around Jon Gruden and the comments that he made. Understand something. These comments were made 10 plus years ago. Does that mean it's an excuse for what he did? Absolutely not. But the one thing, well, there's a couple of things. It's just not one thing. There's a couple of things. But let me start off by saying this. I thought this was America, land of the free and home of the brave. Now, you have to be pretty brave to say what Jon Gruden said in those emails to an entrusted friend. I mean, me personally, I don't really know anyone who speaks like that. The context of it, I mean, you could argue so many things. It's hard to argue the context of what that was supposed to be used in or how it was going to be used or whatever. Jon Gruden did come out and say that he is not a racist. He has no racist bone in his body. And his 30 plus years or whatever has proven that. 58 plus years, I believe he said, has proven that. Now, I love to believe that after 10 years, an individual can change their perspectives, their mind, their attitude, their whole get up. A lot can happen in 10 years. A lot has happened in 10 years. And this is America. What happened to freedom of speech? Again, you had to be pretty brave to say the things that you said. But does he not have the right to speak his mind? To speak freely without conviction? Now, I know we've canceled a lot of people for way less. I get that. And as you've continuously heard on this podcast, cancel culture is a joke and it's stupid. But what I don't agree with is how quickly we are to end a man's life, end one's career. He was having a private conversation, I understand, in an email. And these things got leaked. The second thing that pisses me off, you want to know what pisses me off? The pettiness, the absolute pettiness that Roger Goodell has to release those emails. And you can argue and say he didn't release them. You can argue and say he didn't release them, but come on. They found those emails because they were investigating the Redskins. Remember, the Washington football team, formerly known as the Redskins, were being investigated for workplace misconduct. There was a lot of sexual harassment allegations against the owner and the president and the GM and all the whole staff there because of misconduct in the workplace, sexual harassment. So these emails were found due to that investigation. And you're telling me that Goodell is not petty? He released those emails. He released them. They had nothing to do with the investigation regarding the Washington football team. So there were, as what I've seen and they've released as of this point, there were 2 women that were with bottoms, no tops. I'm not sure if they were cheerleaders, but if it was one of those random email things that people send. You know, everyone has their own brand. Everyone likes their own flavor. So if they sent just some random topless pictures, I don't see how that's attached or what that has to do with anything. It's pettiness. Roger Goodell saw the email that Jon Gruden was talking about him, called him the F word. But my whole point, is that calls them these names, and all of a sudden it's released when they have nothing to do with Jon Gruden. He has nothing to do with that investigation. The pettiness of Roger Goodell. Let's be honest. That's what that is. It's stupid. I'm telling you, like the intro says, taking a man's livelihood is akin to killing him. Roger Goodell solely did it to attack the character, the personality, the person that is Jon Gruden. Are his actions excusable? No. But we're talking about, this is the same thing that's been going on. The same thing that happened with Kevin Hart. When Kevin Hart made insensitive comments years ago that people brought up in order to cancel him. Thank God it didn't work. Thank God Kevin overcame that. Thank God people are smart enough out there to see the truth behind someone. I don't know if that's to say the same about Jon Gruden. All I can say is, this, I do not agree with the fact that you're going to pull up something that was said over 10 years ago and think that someone's perspective or someone's view of certain things have or cannot change. And you're taking things that were said. I understand the racial implications that he had against Smith. I understand that. Let me clarify. I understand in the sense of why that is being highlighted and why that is a no-no. 1,000%. You know, this is how I feel about Jon Gruden. I feel like he's part of the old guard. This was normal conversation. Is it right? Absolutely not. It's not right. It's normal conversation. But is it right when your grandpa makes a racial comment because of the time that he grew in? Like, oh, grandpa, you try to tell him, right? And then nothing changes. It's not going to change his mind. It's part of that old guard. It sounds contradictory, but hear me out. I truly believe that when those words were said at that time, they don't hold, this is just the homophobic stuff. They don't hold the same weight as those words do in today's day and age. So you want to cancel someone for the weight that comments hold today for things that were said 10 plus years ago. And you can't do that. Me and my colleague joke, you can't do that. We joke about that all the time. You can't, because at that point you could take anything anyone's ever said in the future and spin it. Or you don't even, it sounds as though you're spinning it. That's not what I'm trying to say. But I'm saying you could take anything anyone has ever said, fast forward, we'll say for this one, 10 years in the future, and you can make an argument for some kind of insensitive comment that was made. That's why Twitter's going to come back and bite a lot of people in the butt. A lot of people. You can't speak freely. Apparently, that constitutional right is gone because you get canceled. And when did we enter that world? That's why cancel culture is so stupid. You're going to pull up things that were said a long time ago. The racial implication of that, there's no defending that for me. I don't understand how he said it. I mean, the only thing, like I mentioned earlier, is that was probably acceptable to say that he's got lips like a Michelin tire. I don't know. The only thing I can see in that is that he's talking about he can run his mouth. Tires spin out, they go. That's what they're meant to do. He runs his mouth. Is that how he meant it? No, I don't know. Are we simply putting racial to it? Again, I am unaware of tires on lips and things like that being associated as a racial thing. So if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'm going to say it right now. But due to my ignorance in that aspect, I've never heard it like that. So, could it be that? I don't know. Could it be that he says he talks a lot? I don't know. I'll tell you what it sounds like. It sounds bad. It definitely sounds bad. Are we attaching the racist comment because tires are black to a black person? I don't know. Again, I am ignorant to that. I don't know. I haven't done the research on that. I don't know if that's a derogatory racial term, but my focus, I guess, is more so on the homophobic stuff. I think it's wrong to cancel someone for that. He'll pay for the racial stuff. And if it was solely that, if it was solely the racial things that he said, or solely the racial thing he said, could he not overcome that? Has his view not changed? In a predominantly black athletic, what am I trying to say? In a predominantly black work environment, you don't think that a head coach's perspective can change? You see, I don't buy it. I think it can. Is he racist? I don't know. Was he racist? I don't know. This is all new information to me too. All I can do is stand up for how pathetic cancel culture is, in the sense that you're going to cancel him for those things said, when you're going to kill this man for things that are meant and hold more weight in today's day and age than they did back then. That I don't agree with. I don't agree with the racial comments. Never a place for racism. I can't stand that, as you guys know. But can someone change? Maybe. I think so. And going back to my point, could he have overcame it? I mean, look at the stuff that Urban Meyer just went through. They wanted to cancel him for cheating on his wife. And they almost did. He refused to resign. So it looks like he's going to play it out. They still haven't won a game, so there's still potential that this could have him on in the doghouse, and not winning a game in the next 2 weeks could get him fired. But if Urban Meyer can overcome something like that, could Jon Gruden overcome this? Maybe. You do this whole apology tour. You know, I respect that he resigned if his resignation was due to the reasons he gave. He said he did not want to be a distraction because he loved the Raiders organization too much. I'm going to read you actually what he tweeted, or a statement from Ian Rappaport. This is, quote, "I have resigned as head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. I love the Raiders and do not want to be a distraction." And if that is truly the case, you got to respect the guy for that. And then he goes on to say, "Thank you to all the players, coaches, staff, and fans of Raider Nation. I'm sorry. I never meant to hurt anyone." A private conversation. I don't know. But here, I'll tell you what. This is why I love this platform, specifically podcast, specifically the Culture Punch podcast, specifically what we've built. Because unlike ESPN and those ginormous media conglomerates or whatever, they're just falling in line. They're just saying what cancel culture wants to hear. Guess what? Because they don't want to be on the other end of that. So instead of speaking their mind, they're just falling in line. But guess what, people? Not here. We're going to speak our minds. We're going to start off. Racism is never an okay thing. Homophobic slurs. I'm a Christian. I've established that. Gay goes against my religion. Should someone be persecuted for that? Absolutely not. My religion also teaches love, and that's where I sit. Love humanity. Love thy neighbor. Canceling someone does not show love. They should be allowed redemption. They should be given that opportunity. And is it okay to bash people of the LGBTQ community the way that the comments he was making? Again, I side with love. So no, don't do that. That's it. Plain and simple. Love each other. Have love in your heart. And remove, it sounds easier said than done, I guess. But my whole point is this. My whole point is that if we have love in our heart for that neighbor, there's no room for racism. There's no room for homophobia and all that other stuff. We love each other so much. The soul, the human being behind the soul, the individual, that there's no need for any of that, because it's all love. We'll get there. We're working on it. Look at Dave Chappelle and his special he just came out. He was explaining how he's more so jealous than hating the LGBTQ community, and that they're not listening, and that he's willing to have this discussion on the side of love and move forward. And he said, I'm done talking about this. I'm not going to talk about this again until I know we are laughing together. That comes from a place out of love. So for someone who was told that they were hating and hated, they put this and built this out of love. And that's what we want to see. We want to see that moving forward. It's not a difficult task at all. But there's going to be some speed bumps, some hiccups along the way. And you got to understand, in order for us to move forward, a lot of times our demons have to come to light. So the fact that Jon Gruden's comments came to light in today's day and age, we should still give him the opportunity to come back from that. We shouldn't take his livelihood away. Allow him to come back from that and see if he truly has changed. See if he truly is that person that's being portrayed based off those emails, or if 10 years has been enough time for him to grow and for him to change. It's all about our values, and our values can change. There's a lot of things that are in concrete. Those are usually the pillars that make us. But there's also room for change. Things happen. Things change. You're telling me that people's visions and the way they looked at things haven't changed since George Floyd? Didn't change since Zimmerman? Haven't changed since Caitlyn Jenner? You see, there's a lot of things that happen that allow us the opportunity to change and allow us to see things in different lights. Could this be one of those things that was not one of his proudest moments, but that he's definitely grown from? We don't know. Why? Because you freaking canceled him. And now we may never know. And it's sad. So understand, taking a man's life or his livelihood is akin to killing him. Dave Chappelle always articulates it the best. Culture Punch Podcast, you know what it is. Go ahead and follow us. Instagram, Facebook is the same. Culture Punch Podcast, with Twitter being culture_punch. Give us a review anywhere you listen to podcasts. Give us a thumbs up. We appreciate it. Let us know what you think of this podcast. And if you want us to talk about specific topics, also hit us on those comments. Again, thank you guys from my day ones to everyone that's new. Appreciate all the love. Podcast is growing. Thank you guys. I hope that you guys understood the message here is about love and redemption. And that's what we need to look at and how we need to move forward. It's not cancel somebody without giving them a chance to at redemption is what I should say. So it's all love as always. Culture Punch Podcast, Wall Street. I'm out. Peace.